My dear brothers and sisters, today I want to share with you a secret, a beautiful sunnah of our beloved Prophet that most Muslims overlook. It's something so simple yet so powerful that it carries the reward of Hajj and Umrah without leaving your home. Subhanallah, just imagine earning what millions of Muslims travel for by following a small act of devotion after Fajr. Yes, you heard me right. This sunnah after Fajr is a gateway to immense barakah, spiritual elevation and closeness to Allah. Many of us wake up for Fajr, pray our obligatory prayers, and then rush back to sleep or begin our day distracted by the world. But the Prophet A taught us that those who remain in dhikr and remembrance of Allah after Fajr until the sun rises and then offer just 2 rakahs of prayer, Salat al-Ishraq, are rewarded in ways that are truly astonishing. One of the most overlooked but incredibly rewarding sunnahs in Islam is Salat al-Ishraq, also known as the Duha prayer in its earliest time. Many Muslims are unaware of the tremendous blessings attached to it, even though it is mentioned in the authentic sayings of the Prophet Muhammad A. The Messenger of Allah A said, "Whoever prays Fajr in congregation, then sits remembering Allah until the sun rises, then prays 2 rakahs, will have the reward of Hajj and Umrah complete." Said Tirmidhi Hassan, this hadith alone is enough to show us the greatness of this sunnah. Imagine something as simple as sitting after Fajr remembering Allah, waiting until the sun rises, and then praying just 2 units of prayer is rewarded like the pilgrimage to Mecca, one of the greatest acts of worship in Islam, and not just any Hajj. But the Prophet emphasized it by saying complete. Why such a huge reward? Hajj and Umrah require sacrifice, patience, wealth, time and effort. Not everyone can go to Mecca whenever they want. Allah, out of His immense mercy, gave the Ummah an opportunity to achieve a similar reward daily without leaving their homes. Shows us how generous Allah is. He opens doors of goodness for His slaves in ways that are easy and attainable. By praying Salat al-Ishraq, the believer demonstrates commitment, consistency. Waking up for Fajr itself is a test. But to stay engaged in remembrance after Fajr, resisting the temptation of going back to sleep, shows a special love for Allah. This effort is rewarded with something as great as Hajj and Umrah, the spiritual dimension of Ishraq. When a believer spends the time between Fajr and sunrise in Dhikr, Quran recitation, reflection or learning, they are surrounded by angels and blessings. The Prophet A told us that the angels witness the fire prayer and that the Quran recited at this time is witnessed by both the night and the day angels, Quran 1778. Then when the sun rises and the believer prays 2 rakahs, it is as if he seals his morning with gratitude, humility and obedience. The heart becomes filled with tranquility and the soul tastes the sweetness of Iman that no wealth can buy, reward like Hajj and Umrah, but not a replacement. It's important to clarify this sunnah does not replace the obligation of Hajj. Hajj remains a pillar of Islam and a duty upon every Muslim who is able to perform it once in their lifetime. However, this sunnah is a gift from Allah for those who seek its reward and for those who may not have the means to go for Hajj regularly. Think about it. Hajj can only be performed once a year by those who can afford it, but Salat al-Ishraq can be performed every single day. That means you can potentially earn the reward of Hajj and Umrah 365 times a year by being consistent with this act. Pray Fajr in congregation, men in the masjid, women at home or masjid if they prefer it. Stay seated after Fajr engaging in Dhikr Quran or reflection until about 15-20 minutes after sunrise. Pray 2 rakahs of Ishraq with sincerity, making dua to Allah for acceptance. Turn it into a daily habit, even if it means sacrificing some sleep. Salat al-Ishraq is a hidden treasure many Muslims are neglecting. Through it, Allah offers us the reward of Hajj and Umrah, an immense reward for a relatively small act. It teaches us that in Islam, it's not just about doing the largest deeds, but about consistency, sincerity, and following the sunnah of the Prophet A. The next time you pray Fajr, don't rush back to sleep. Stay a little longer. Remember Allah and offer these 2 precious rakahs. It could transform your spiritual journey and add mountains of reward to your scale on the day of judgment. One of the most beautiful gifts from Allah turned to this ummah is the Barakah, divine blessing that exists in the early hours of the morning. The Prophet Muhammad specifically made dua for his ummah. "O Allah, bless my ummah in their early mornings." Abu Dawud, Tirmidhi Hassan. This simple yet powerful supplication shows that the morning is not just a time of routine and work, but a time filled with Allah's mercy, blessings and spiritual opportunities. Whoever uses the early hours wisely, especially after Fajr, will find barakah in their health, wealth, knowledge, productivity, spiritual life. The spiritual barakah of the morning, when a believer spends the time after Fajr in Dhikr, Quran recitation and reflection, their heart becomes illuminated with guidance. This time of day is pure and free from the noise of the world, making it the best moment to connect with Allah sincerely. The angels witness the prayers and recitations of believers during Fajr and after. Indeed, the recitation of the Quran at dawn is ever witnessed. Quran 17 and 78. This means that the deeds performed at this time carry a special weight and are recorded with honor. The believer who fills these hours with worship is gifted with inner peace and strength that lasts throughout the day. Barakah in worldly affairs, barakah in the morning, is not limited to spiritual rewards. It extends to worldly matters as well. Many companions of the Prophet would begin their trade work or travels right after Fajr because they witnessed firsthand how their efforts would multiply and succeed when they started early. For example, Yuduna ibn Marayuza was known to begin his day at Fajr, finishing important tasks early. This habit ensured he had both worldly success and ample time for worship. Today, modern science also affirms that the early morning is the most productive time for human beings, when the mind is fresh and energy is at its peak. This is the very barakah the Prophet prayed for. Losing the morning barakah by sleeping after Fajr. On the other hand, those who waste the morning in sleep deprive themselves of these blessings. While sleeping after Fajr is not haram, scholars have often advised against making it a habit because it causes a believer to miss out on valuable hours filled with barakah. Instead of filling their day with productivity and dhikr, such people wake up late, groggy and already behind in their tasks. It is like someone being invited to a banquet of blessings but choosing to stay away. The Prophet's dua for his ummah's mornings is a priceless gift. Why would we turn away from it? Linking Barakah with Ishraq prayer. When you remain awake after Fajr and then pray Salat al-Ishraq, you are directly tapping into the fountain of morning Barakah. You have used the time for Allah's remembrance, for Quran, for reflection, and sealed it with 2 units of prayer. This act ensures your entire day begins on a note of light and blessing. This is why so many scholars and righteous people considered the early morning their most valuable time. They achieved both spiritual and worldly success because they cherished the hours in which Allah placed barakah. The morning after Fajr is a hidden treasure chest filled with barakah. Those who utilize it through remembrance of Allah, Quran learning, reflection and prayer will find their entire life uplifted by blessings, from inner peace to worldly success, from spiritual strength to physical energy. All of this flows from connecting with Allah in the early hours. The Prophet's dua is enough to convince us, "Oh Allah, bless my ummah in their early mornings." If we truly want to see change in our lives, we must seize the barakah of the morning and never let it slip away. Islam is not just about rituals. It is about shaping the heart, disciplining the soul, and bringing a believer closer to Allah. Among the acts of worship that cultivate these qualities is the practice of staying engaged in Dhikr after Fajr and offering the Sunnah of Ishraq. Though it seems small, Sunnah is a powerful path to discipline and nearness to Allah, a discipline in fighting laziness. One of the greatest challenges for many believers is sleep and laziness. After Fajr, the natural desire is to go back to bed, but resisting this urge builds spiritual discipline. The Prophet said, Shaitan ties 3 knots at the back of the head of one of you when he goes to sleep. He strikes the place of each knot, saying, "You have a long night, so sleep." If he wakes up and remembers Allah, 1 knot is undone. If he performs wudu, the 2nd knot is undone. If he prays, the 3rd knot is undone and he wakes up energetic and in a good mood. Otherwise, he wakes up lazy and in a bad mood. So Bukhari, Muslim, this hadith shows how prayer, remembrance and discipline break the chains of laziness that Shaitan tries to place upon us. By staying awake after Fajr and praying Ishraq, the believer is training himself to prioritize worship over comfort. Over time, this habit strengthens willpower and makes other acts of worship easier. A nearness to Allah through consistency. Allah loves those who are consistent in their worship, even if the acts are small. The Prophet said, "The most beloved deeds to Allah are those that are consistent, even if they are few." So Bukhari, Muslim praying 2 rakahs of Ishraq daily may seem minor, but the sincerity and consistency behind it carry immense weight. Every single morning, the believer is declaring, "Way Allah, I begin my day with you before I do anything else." This daily commitment strengthens the connection between the servant and his creator. Spiritual intimacy with Allah. When a person sits after Fajr remembering Allah, reading Quran, making dua or reflecting in silence, they are experiencing a moment of spiritual intimacy. These quiet hours are when distractions are few, the world is calm and the heart is open. The Prophet himself would engage in Dhikr until sunrise. This routine shows us the importance of starting our day with Allah's remembrance. The nearness that comes from such devotion fills the believer's heart with sakinah, tranquility, and removes the anxieties of the day. Training the soul for greater acts, practicing this sunnah also prepares the believer for greater acts of worship. Just as an athlete trains with small exercises to prepare for big competitions, The believer trains his soul with daily habits like Ishraq to prepare for the heavier responsibilities of life and faith. This discipline helps in waking up for tahajjud in the last part of the night, staying consistent with 5 daily prayers, developing focusing Quran recitation, avoiding sins by beginning the day in obedience. The spiritual energy gained from Ishraq empowers the believer to face trials, temptations, and challenges with resilience. The Sunnah of Ishraq is more than just 2 rakahs of prayer. It is a daily exercise of discipline, patience, and love for Allah. It trains the believer to resist laziness, to remain consistent in worship, and to taste the sweetness of closeness to Allah. If you want to strengthen your iman, build discipline, and feel the presence of Allah in your life, start with this small but powerful sunnah. Every morning you dedicate to Allah brings you one step closer to Him. And what greater success can there be than being near to your Lord?